Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Dig Talk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the aforementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away. Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book, The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Golf Club. The ticket comes with a book. All this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Dig Talk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Our viewers, we thank you for being patient with us. Sometimes we do not have any immediate solutions, especially when it comes to the decisions that are made by those that hold the power, but rather misuse the same power. For instance, we have issues with the internet, and this has nothing to do with alternative digital arrangement, but definitely to those that have the powers that must have jumped or run away with the cables of internet, most likely because of their fear in regards to what people want to communicate, because we continue to condemn the act of the government when it comes to suffocating and shrinking our space as citizens when it comes to freedom of speech and expression. For that reason, that is why we have kind of delayed, because we also have to, for some reason, bypass their restrictions and also ensure we continue communicating and also offering due services as our dear viewers. Apologies. We do not have anything to do with when it comes to the internet disconnection. As you may all be aware, we still have issues with the Facebook itself, and that is our main channel through which we communicate and reach to you, our viewers. Good morning once again. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. I have with me a retired justice of Supreme Court, Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. We pledged having him every last Friday of a month, but sometimes when there are those things that can't wait, then he is a call away. He's our other family member. Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba, please say hello to the viewers of the Alternative Digital.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you, Norman. And nice to see you again and your colleagues. Welcome to visit me again early this morning. As you can see, I'm fine. I'm looking forward to the discussion this morning. If you allow me, I want to say something.
Yeah, it's okay, Prof.
Last week, Makerere lost one of their most enterprising professors, Professor Anthony Kerari. He hailed from Arua. He was a good friend of mine. He was previously the captain of the Uganda Golf Club. As you can see, he was a golfer. But in his developmental efforts, he improved the Uganda Golf Club tremendously, particularly as an engineer. I was very, very shocked because I had talked to him a few days before, only to read in a small print in one of the newspapers that he had passed away. This was later confirmed by sources at Makerere. But no obituary has been written. Lesser mortals have died and got huge obituaries from our newspapers. I was very saddened to see that no obituary, even though I attempted to write about him, has been published in newspapers. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, woman.
Please, our viewers, we are on the Mighty Drive. Now social media pages are the Alternative Uganda on Twitter, Facebook, and also on YouTube. We continue to make an apology for the delay, and I mean, when the internet gets stuck or slow, it's not our making. Of course, as the Alternative, we continue to pledge that as soon as the network gets better, we shall forever continue broadcasting and informing you. Prof, there are lots of events that have taken place in this country, and we want to take you back, because ever since the president talked and or communicated to the world some weeks ago, especially in regards to the kidnaps, I want to take you back. Maybe you give us some hint on whether there is a relationship between these kidnaps and the 1970s kidnaps, for lack of another word, unjustifiable. Because one would ask, if you have any case against Prof Kanyeihamba, why kidnap, for lack of another word, hide them? where do you think this comes from, and why do you think it is happening?
Yes. Certainly, there is one connecting link, and that link is that when you have a regime which does not work for the people, which works for itself and its leadership only, those are the only things that matter at the moment to the movement. Its leadership and its repressive measures. Once you have a regime like that, then you have things like kidnaps. The government has already admitted that some of those kidnaps and the tortures were carried out by people in numberless cars. How can a government of the people who loves its people have unidentified monsters called vehicles and kidnap people? One of the man dearest and the nearest to the president, an army officer, recently suggested, I was shocked, that he and his colleagues, the torturers of Ugandans, should be allowed to carry guns without numbers. This is a man from the government, who supports the government, who is known for his outspoken views. I shouldn't say the word spoken, I'm spoiling that word, for his controversial methods of torturing the people. And the government reaction, if you have to take what President Museveni did as a reaction, is to say, no, we are not going to allow you to use unmarked guns. Instead of sacking him, disciplining him, actually he's being congratulated. Talking about torture, and you hinted on the banning of internet. It's very, very interesting. So during the primary elections of the NRM alone, member appointing another member whom he loves, some people were killed through corruption and election rigging in the party itself, by itself. And I hope that some judges are listening to this discussion. During the nomination alone of presidential candidates, of which now the petitioner, Kyagulanyi, was one. It was reported in the media and in the press, including the government paper, that between 50 and 60 people were killed. The reaction of government was not to condemn those murders and assassinations, but to ban social media. Internet was banned, social media was banned. And what was the reason? The reason is now clear. The government did not want people to know what was happening. The newspapers, those which continue publishing, Monitor, New Vision, I didn't get a copy of the red paper, Independent, never reported any single death during the controversial and hot-heated elections. Does the government think Ugandans are fools? Can't we make our own conclusions? I guarantee you, some people must have been injured. Some people were killed. But the government of Uganda, whom we elected, or allegedly elected, doesn't want us to know about anything. Many friends of mine in the government, and I have many, when I wanted to talk about these matters privately with them, they shied away. They gave excuses, they will not give me interview. Apart from one or two, the others have shut up on this matter. This time, the government did not entertain international observers. Those that commented on the elections were local ones, and I know how they are compromised in their views. If you remember, it was reported in the 2016 general elections that Caesar Besigye actually did much better in getting more votes than other candidates. This was hinted at by the international observers who came here. I was indisposed. But they respected me so much, my opinion. They left their comfortable hotels in Kampala, came here, they were sitting here as you were, so that they could tell me what they discovered. And when somebody asked, he said, "You are coming here accompanied by government officials, but the media are not coming." So Obasanjo, who was leading the Commonwealth team of observers, and came with his colleagues. And if I want to remind you, his colleagues were His Excellency Banda, the former president of Malawi, Justice Sophia Akufo, the former president of the African Court of Human Rights and Justice, who was leading the African Union team of observers. The other was Chakasali, Ugandan, who lives in America, the Voice of America. Yeah. They all came here. When you last came here, I showed you their pictures. I am not at liberty to tell you what they told me. But they told me that rather than have trouble in Uganda, let there be a reconciliation between President Museveni and Kizza Besigye and his supporters, and Museveni's supporters should form a national government. They told me initially that this was accepted by both parties. But when Ugandans started shouting, President Museveni won, we won, the national, rather the resistance movement party said we shall go to fight unless our president rules alone. He abandoned the idea of reconciliation. You know, after these last elections, 2021, Museveni is on record as saying, I have no reason not to negotiate and have a reconciliation with Kyagulanyi. But at the same breath, the army and the police were surrounding Kyagulanyi, beating him up, killing some people, including his driver. And we Ugandans are sitting there, looking at it as if it is happening in another country. It is, and he will not mind if I quote him. He said, it is only in Uganda whether the leadership and the party can harass citizens and take away their electoral rights, that they continue governing that country. When you last interviewed me, it has never happened in Uganda. Not even when Amini was governing, not even when Obote was governing or Rutwa. That's one region in the country. Muganda, one of the most advanced regions in this country, could totally reject the ruling party and its leadership. President Museveni is putting on a brave face, but I think he's not only embarrassed, but he's very worried as to what to do. That is why I'm confident. And if he loved Uganda and loved the Ugandans, which I have already thought he did, he would not announce in this period that whatever happens, this is his last term. I still stand by my word, even if I am to be killed, that this will be the last term Museveni will have to govern Uganda. Because by the time the next election comes, he will be in his 80s. I remember when I was getting to 70 years old, I sat with Justice Mulenga, Justice Katulebe. We were attending a meeting of international judges at Munyonyo. And Museveni passed by us. He was president. And he said, how are you old men? Abagurusi ni mugamba chi. Very, very clearly saying, when you become 70, I know you are no longer going to be there. He is now about 77, 78. If I am generous, he is 77. But for the records from his birthplace, Mbalala, by the way, that I was about 2 years older than him. I am now 81, 82 come August. I was here the other day with the people with whom he grew. I don't have to mention their names. They are all in the 80s. So it seems that for him, time remains stationary. But it doesn't. And unfortunately, we are all mortal and human. So President Museveni, once again, I appeal to you, as your former minister, colleague, we worked together. If you remember, the forerunner of the NRM was the National Liberation Party, movement, which we founded in Lusaka. I was there. Martin Alike is still alive. He was there. We were with the late Elia Kategaya, Father Okot. We founded the original. But if you read Museveni's books, he has published about 2. You don't find the Kanyeihamba name there. Ask Matayo Charlie Gonza. Matayo Charlie Gonza, when they are in the bush, I used to write to them. If I am not mistaken, I am the founder of the LOCs in villages. I would write to him from London. Then ask Matayo Charlie Gonza, is still alive, he told me, he said, then he would write to us. He would read the letter to the bush. He said, our Professor George Kanyeihamba has suggested the following. Should we follow him or not? Telling
the Bushmen.
But if you remind him that this is now how his policy has changed, he gets annoyed. He doesn't want to hear the good things done by other people. No, only him. When the government...
Is that a habit that has been growing, or that habit has been in him for as long as you have met him?
If it was there before, I would never have served him. Museveni has changed from his original. I told you the other day, the BBC asked me in an interview that you say your president has changed. You used to serve him. You served him as Minister of Commerce. You served him as Minister of Justice and Attorney General. And you are his first ever senior presidential advisor. Why do you say he has changed? I said he has changed. He no longer listens to reason. He only is happy to hear people praising him. He doesn't punish those who do wrong. He's now accepted corruption as a way of governing this country. Without corruption, there is no way Museveni would remain president of Uganda. So they said, really? You mean really his character has changed? I said, extremely totally. I said, if the Museveni of 1986 was to meet the Museveni of today, and this is several years ago when they interviewed me, they would shoot each other on sight because they are different cultures altogether. Fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, President Museveni went to UK in the following week on a mission, not mine, but a government mission. They interviewed him about me. They said, you remember your Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Professor Kanyeihamba? He said, yes, I know him very well. He said he recently said that we have changed beyond recognition. That if the Museveni of 1986 were to meet the Museveni of today,
they would shoot one another.
That they would shoot each other on the side. I thought he would be very angry with me, and when he comes back, sack me. But although he didn't have power to sack me as a judge, but he smiled and he said, yes, you know Kanyeihamba, I know him. He said, what he's saying is not true. I would not shoot the other Museveni. He said, why not? He said, because I become wiser and more intelligent. There you are.
Our viewers, we stayed with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba, and we're trying to discuss a few matters in regards to the sequence of events that have happened in this country, especially when it comes to governance, leadership, governance, politics, economics, lots of things, human rights, to mention but a few. In your book, we read how you were stopped on a roadblock, and an officer who had recognized you, whom you at heart, you confess in your book that you had feared, thinking he would even arrest you in 1970s. Do you think, God forbid, for lack of another word, if such happened, and let's say there is a coup or anything, or change of government, that some officers of this government would be left scotch-free, like you were lucky to be left by that officer who said, oh, attorney, okay, where are you leaving this country? And he was bothered than arresting or torturing you at a time?
My view is that the security officers, whether they are police or army, have changed beyond recognition. They are no longer the same as those who are served when I was frightened. They are no longer the same as served under Bote or even Amin. It seems to me that if you look at the operational way they are, governing this country, there are only two things to defend in this country beyond death. That is the NRM and its leadership. There was a consensus about the new constitution of 1995 in the country. The parties were represented in parliament. The traditional rulers were represented. Their case was articulated by people like the former ambassador to the UN from the Kingdom of Fort Portal, and the late Professor Simbambi, Apple Simbambi. And they were there specially. And some were nominated President Museveni to represent the cultural aspects of this country. We consulted everywhere, up to the Muruka. And the people said, we don't want the constitution to be made by parliament. We don't trust them. We do not want the constitution to be made by the president or political parties. We want to be made by the people of Uganda. For that reason, we reject this parliament. We want you to make new constituencies called constituent assemblies. Smaller. Sometimes it would be a county, sometimes it would be a combination of two counties, but certainly more numerous constituencies than those of parliament. The idea was to represent as many Ugandans as possible, of all shades of opinion, of cultural background. And that's what happened. The Odochi Commission, which did a great job, was equally represented and reflected all shades of opinion in the leadership of this country. I don't want to continue repeating myself, but when the constitution was promulgated, the president was our guest of honor. He hadn't made it. Of course, we consulted him, but he can't say he made that constitution. Many of the things we put in the constitution, he was against. Like government just acquiring people's land. He wanted the government to have an easy way of acquiring land and developing this country. We refused. And it is not in the constitution. You have to compensate when you take the land. So having said that, he himself became convinced that the 1995 constitution is the best. All Ugandans, not the government, not a party, but the whole of Ugandan's population wanted. There is only one man who had objected to extending the NRM to do the constitution, Zitwa, and he resigned in a protest, but nobody else. But these are them, and you reporters and journalists, I really find it difficult that you fear to ask Museveni, why did you say that this was the best constitution that the Ugandans made, and you defend it to death, including going to the bush again, if anyone tampers with it? And why haven't you ever asked me the reason? Why did you tamper with it simply for your own benefit?
I want to ask you this, Prof, in these remaining minutes for us to go into a healthy break.
Yes.
But also to remind our viewers out there that who are out of the country to place +256 789 017 as our studio line. Because we are living in a digital world, don't mind asking. Don't mind to wondering on whether how do we have our studio lines again in Professor Kanyehamba's home. I can assure you, just call. you get tempted to call, we shall also shock you by picking you up and you communicate to him direct. If you're in Uganda, you can call 0789017145. I see Council Solomon. Council Solomon. Yeah, call. This is your senior, by the way. When it comes, if it were parenthood, he would be your grandfather-in-law. I see Council Aaron Chiza watching. Please, gentlemen, councils out there, call this gentleman, ask him if there are some questions that I might have skipped. You talked of being Mr. Museveni's senior presidential advisor.
Yes.
You are now, come August 11th, if I'm not mistaken, you'll be 82 years.
Yes.
If the appointment letter was dropped onto this house, reappointing you as now the most senior presidential advisor, would you take it up?
No.
Good. Guys, we are going into a commercial break. It's a point. I mean, it's on point. It's a no. You wouldn't take it up. So why wouldn't you want to share your wisdom with him?
Please. The law.
Yeah.
I
presidential advisory,
the law.
Presidential advisory role doesn't require.
But I advise him. He doesn't have to appoint me. Even as I speak now, members of the government ask for my advice. Opposition members. Only the other day, I was talking to Nobati Mao. We had a chat. I had a chat with Kyagulanyi. But I don't have to have an official office as senior presidential advisor. I was the first one ever. No. I have retired.
Does that mean that your former, because you called him your colleague, but also your former boss, is he unadvisable in your view?
He's not advisable. Ever since I became a judge, and on this one, many people who are close to him will tell you, I have attempted to see him person to person and give him some ideas about the way the country is governed. He has refused to see me alone. I asked I have asked Kanyeihamba to make an appointment. I asked Mbabazi to make an appointment. I asked Kyagulanyi. The only one who made an appointment for me to see him was the late said Wanga. Even then, he didn't fulfill his to see me alone.
When did you last meet him in person?
I last met him in person, one to one. I last met him when I had stopped being a judge, but I was now practicing as a lawyer, senior counsel, and I was representing the Queen Mother of Toro. And the Queen of Toro made an appointment for her and me to see the president. We got there, but he would not see me alone. So he only saw me with her. Then I don't know how true this is. One of his advisors, very close, tried to make an appointment for me to see the president. By the way, I'm challenging me now. I am 80. I'm going to be 81 this year. 82 rather, in August 11th. And openly somebody will tell him that Kanyeihamba said, see him now. As even before you are sworn in, call him. I can even go with the Norman, and we go to State House. They will take me in a wheelchair. They can push me there, but I can sit in a chair when I am there. I go on my stick, and they said, why? He's challenged you. Kanyeihamba has challenged you. See him. Give him a cup of tea.
It is interesting and hot in here with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. I want to take you viewers into this short break for just a minute. We come back. There are so many challenging and controversial questions I want to ask Professor Kanyeihamba. We see on whether or not he will shy away from answering, but please don't go away. Coming back shortly.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the forementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Dig Talk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Golf Club. The ticket comes with a book. All this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Dig Talk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Definitely, we are back, and we cannot thank you enough for being with us despite the network issues. We continue thanking you. We can't thank you enough. My name is Numan Tumhimbise. We are still in Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba's home, and we're trying to discuss governance, democracy, human rights, to mention but a few, but also to give us an insight of his experience. Remember, on 11th August this year, he's going to be making 82 years. If it were a building, that's an 8th floor. If it was, if it was a building, that would be an 8th floor. A controversial question here in my inbox before we go into other concerns, Prof, it has been rumored that in some controversial matters, you justices make decisions based on two or so things. One, out of fear. Two, that some judgments are simply brought into your chambers and you have no choice but rather to read the same judgments, which in the public's view are not drafted by you, but you're under instructions to simply read the judgments that are drafted by some other people. That this is especially done when it comes to presidential petitions. True or false?
There is some truth in that, and I am not the one to originate that view. If you read the letter which I reproduced in my book, In the Name of God, Truth and Justice, you'll find a letter written by senior counsel Peter Mulira. He practices in Uganda. He's writing to the former Chief Justice, Bata Katurebe. And he gives incidences where judges ask the lawyers they like who appeared before them to write judgments for them, for their client, so the judge simply signs. It's not me. I have never seen that one myself, but this is Peter Mulira, who comments very extensively and regularly on land issues. And he's a Muganda traditionalist with an ancient family connections in the Kingdom of Uganda. But if you read my own book, case book, about cases of Uganda, which were decided by the courts of Uganda, especially the Supreme Court. And that book, the foreword to it is written by none other than the Prime Minister of Uganda. The copies have run out in the bookshops, and the sellers have asked me to produce more. And the publisher and the printer are printing more. By the way, the same also, my other book, The Blessings and the Joy of Being Who You Are, has run out, and they want us to print more. The same with my humorous book, The Anecdotes and the Humor. That one also, we are reprinting. I have become a very popular writer in my old age, which is very, very interesting. Having said that, I want people, please, get a copy of my findings and my reasons for allowing Chiza Besige's petition in 2001. I'm not the only one who has read.
And also 2006.
But I want people to read. My reasons were different from my colleagues. And part of it is reproduced in many of my public law books, including The Blessings and the Joy of Being Who You Are. Here, we were unanimous. I want to tell you. In 2001, we were only 7 judges of the Supreme Court. And we are unanimous in our findings, which were summarized by the then Chief Justice, Justice Odochi. We said, unanimously, not one judge or the other, the election was not free or fair. Unanimously, there was rigging in 2011. Unanimously, we said the Constitution was violated. Unanimously, remember, we are 7. the electoral law, the act, was breached. Unanimously, the Presidential Election Act was breached by the Electoral Commission and some of the candidates. Unanimously, all the questions we asked were unanimous. So what happened?
We should be
The
asking
first meeting, 5 of us. 5 said 5
out of 7.
out of 7. The petition should be allowed. We should repeat the election. It was not free or fair. I want to remind
The general public.
the general public, if the election is not free or fair, and the judges are unanimous in that, that election should be cancelled. And we have another one which is free and fair. It's just common sense. Now, I'll come to that. Now, so 5 of us said Chiza Besigye wins the petition, but he hasn't not proved that he won the election, so it should be repeated. We never said Chiza Besigye is the new president. Just as today, Kyagulanyi has not proved that he won the election in Uganda. He won in Buganda, he won in Busoga, and there may be elsewhere, but he didn't win overall. We don't have the evidence. They may be rigged. The election may not have been free and fair in my constituency, and I admit it, he wasn't. But we don't have evidence that he won there. So when you are convinced that the election was not free or fair, if you are a judge who bases this decision on the law and not on personalities, you say this one is nullified until you prove to me that you were fair and just. Then that is when I'll make a proper decision. I am very, very happy that our President Chief Justice
Windolo
has said, if Kyagulanyi comes with the right evidence and proves that the election was not free or fair, he will give him the verdict. Those are the very words of our Chief Justice. Now I want to tell you about that. If I was on the team which is conducting this petition,
representing Kyagulanyi,
I would make sure 2 witnesses come on my side. And if they refuse, the court can declare them hostile witnesses, but they still come. And that will be Kyagulanyi should call President Museveni as a witness.
But that has.
And now listen, please. This is very, very important. They should not mince words. And he should call the chairman of the Electoral Commission. President Museveni, after the election, said he himself was rigged out. Some of his votes were not counted because the people who were in charge of the election, which is the police, are corrupt.
He confesses his own police.
How can a corrupt person conduct elections and they are free and fair? That's one question. You don't need any other evidence. The evidence has come out of the mouth of the winning candidate who says his votes were also thrown out. He was cheated, even by the opposition. Then comes the man in charge, Justice Yamukama. chairman.
Electoral
He
Commission.
said, I have sacked many of my returning officers and workers of the Electoral Commission. They threw away some of the votes. They rigged others. They didn't count the others properly. They were compromised. How can you have a free and fair election when the presiding officers themselves and the chairman, their chairman has said, have rigged the election? In the UK, there is a case where the opposition, the ruling party, imprisoned the voter, one voter, in the house, so that he could not vote. When the election is finished, he challenged them. Only one vote. And the court held every vote counts. You can't count some votes
And leave
and then you leave out others. Therefore, they nullified the election
because of one
in
vote.
that constituency because of one man. By the way, they only gave him alcohol, so he couldn't go voting. He was incapacitated by alcohol.
Had been
But
intoxicated. rather,
that constituency, they invalidated
because of
the
one vote.
constituency. Now, I want to come back to this one. Really, this is very, very important to raise what we did. We are gentlemen, 7 eminent judges appointed for their qualifications and experience and integrity. First sitting, 5, we allowed the petition, which is a visit, 2001. 2, we don't. Then things happened. You read my book. On the day in question, one of the judges who had convinced me that history will never forgive us
If you
if
did
we don't
otherwise,
allow this petition, changed his mind.
so that history cannot forgive him. Indeed,
History, I hope they will forgive him because he was compromised. Then that was a shock.
a second, Prof.
Then
What do you mean?
just on the day we are sitting to deliver judgment.
What do you mean someone was compromised? Is it through threats? Is it through exchanging money? What do you mean?
No,
when
they
you
were
say-
seen. They were called over by the managers of the NRM party.
You're talking about 2006. Petition.
Not 2001.
2001.
Yes. Because this is 2006, I wasn't
You
there.
already, yeah, you had retired. Right?
And they were told, I put it in my book, so I'm nothing to hide, that if you announce Chizabesi as the winner, we didn't. But they said, if Chizabesi wins, for them, and this is where we have a problem. If you say the election was not free or fair, the conclusion by the NRM said you have found for Chizabesi. No! You are faulting those who participated in the election, the Electoral Commission. In this case, we were faulting Chimundu.
Yeah.
But for them, they said you have voted against Museveni, which is wrong. Museveni, I am one of the 5 who said he committed no criminal offense in the 2011. 2 of our colleagues, the late Sekoko and the late Odeo, said he personally committed criminal offense. I didn't agree with them. I agreed with the majority and the Chief Justice Wembuzi that there was no evidence that Museveni personally committed a crime in that election. That is the mind of a judge. You don't find for personalities or against personalities. You find for the law and the constitution. So one of them,
After their return, after they had been met, you said they were met by
yes,
the big wings in
they
NRM.
confessed, and the one minister confessed They couldn't call me because Kanyeihamba is stubborn. He will not change his mind. He said he will allow this petition. There's no way we can convince him. And if we were even to convince him, he would tell the whole world that we approached him. So they never approached me. But they approached one of my colleagues. And they said, if Museveni loses, we shall declare martial law, call the international, rather the UN, to organize our elections, and obviously it's quite clear you will be dismissed. Another one, by the way, he told me, he said, knowing where I come from, do you think I would have voted against Museveni and lived? Fortunately, God has taken him before me. I think you can know where he came from. Initially, I was convinced that the reasons he gave us for changing his mind midstream, was correct. Because he said, can we guarantee that if we allow this petition, the NRM will not repeat the same wrongs and ignore the Constitution? We said, no, that is a political matter. He said, can we guarantee that if the commander-in-chief of the army wins, as well as loses, through the court, we shall not be sacked, or the army will accept it? We said, no, that is not our question. That's a political military question. And he was asking this question when the army, including General Kyagulanyi, had said, we shall accept the verdict of the Supreme Court. Nevertheless, he was afraid of him, afraid of them. So, it is true that in 2001, when we dismissed Kizza Besigye's petition 3-4, there was some political problem, and therefore it was not based on the facts or the law. None of our petitions since then, we've had one in 2006, I think another one
2016, because 2011 they did
2016, which allegedly Kizza Besigye won. But in each time we are afraid. Let me tell you one important thing. There is a head of an NGO which is respected internationally. He's a lawyer himself. He's the one who alerted me that the leaders of the international observers were coming to my residency at Buziga to discuss with me the results. He's the one who alerted me. And he said at that time that Kizza Besigye won the election and has been stolen from him, just as the former president of America, Trump, wrongly and maliciously tends to claim. So I based my evidence on him. Now he gave me the figures, which I'm not going to repeat. And Museveni certainly had lost, according to him, and the Kizza Besigye had won. He should have been the president in 2001. Now later, when the international observers left, he was asked by the local newspaper his opinion. This is Uganda. He changed his mind. He says, President Museveni won the election by 60.9%. I resigned from his NGO. My resignation letter is published in my other book, In the Name of God, truth and the justice.
Our viewers, we stayed with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. We want to remind you to call 0789017145. The number, our studio number is 0789017145. We're still with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba, and we're trying to discuss lots of things and so many concerns. We have John Patrick. We have John Patrick in Wagaba. He's watching from Nairobi, and he's like Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba, a very intelligent man with good points to Ugandans. He's your, should I say, fan?
Thank you.
He's in Nairobi watching.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, and so many others. We have, there are so many. Agalira Andrew from Kamuli district, and so many. Tamari Benjamin, so many. We shall be reading their comments. Our studio line is 0789017145. Prof, in your line of duty, for some good years you served either as minister, but most importantly, when you were serving as a justice of Supreme Court, or as even a junior judge, save for a justice of Supreme Court. Have you received a phone call either from the president or his prime minister at a time, or any authority telling you to revise or manage a certain case with
no,
care or caution?
I swear in the name of God that neither President Museveni nor President Lule, but there I was not a judge, none of the presidents has ever called me or his minister, no prime minister, to change my mind or to advise me on what judgment I would bring. But as I have told you, whether for better or for worse, the government or government fear that I am very controversial, I don't hide anything, and I am outspoken. And should anybody talk to me, I would make it public. So they have feared to talk to me.
They have feared to talk to you?
Nobody has ever talked to me.
In person.
Yes.
Is there any incident where they have sent agents to talk to you? Politely, like you see, okay, sending you an agent to either convince you or threaten you indirectly.
The only person who has ever talked to me is my late brother, Justice Mulenga. We were very close. At my wedding, he was my best man in the UK. When he was married in Uganda, his first wife, I was his best man. We had a third, we used to call ourselves the three musketeer lawyers from Kigezi. We were all from Kigezi. When Jonathan Katera, the late, who is my Musanzile because my daughter marries his daughter, when he was getting married, Mulenga was his best man. That is how close we are. So I've told you,
he told you.
In 2011, the lawyers, like today's, the lawyers who are representing, I'm sorry to say, Kyagulanyi, have not talked to any of them. They are not prepared to talk to me. Although Kyagulanyi has asked them to talk to me, they are refused. They don't like my opinion because it is different from theirs. I will not say much. I don't know who they are. They are not constitutional lawyers at all.
I want to take you back to someone.
So let me finish this point. I was here. We used to take our files to read them at home. Because the petition is short, you have to give your ruling within 30 days. So I had all my documents here in my study. If you see it, it is big. Then Mulenga called me one night. I had been talking that the lawyers didn't impress me. Those who were representing Chiza Besige.
2001.
Yes, and for me, I'm not going to disturb the country by allowing his petition, because his lawyers are lousy. Mulenga had me, we were talking in coffee with the other judges. That night he called me, he said, Prof, I heard you say you are going to dismiss the petition. History will never forgive us. That is the late Justice Mlenga. And I don't think I am defaming a dead person because I said it when he was still alive. He said, have you read so-and-so? Have you read this communication from so-and-so? Have you read what Museveni said? Blah, blah. I was shocked. I said, am I going to make a mistake? I woke up there. I read all the documents he had referred to. I didn't go to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I said, my God, I was going to make a mistake. Because of my lack of reading, I was going to make a mistake. So, as a result of what Justice Mlenga told me to read, I changed my mind and I said I'm going to allow that Chiza's petition. The election was not free or fair. And I maintained that position until we delivered our findings. By the way, I want those who are listening to me
and watching you
and watching me, don't hear it from others. Read Article 101 and 4, 104 of Uganda Constitution. All of it, don't read a bit of it, read it. What they are doing is wrong. When the courts have found out how the petition, they don't give judgment. The Constitution, I was part of those who made it, is clear. Every judge must give his finding, not judgment. A petition is not like a trial. It's not like a criminal trial where you only listen to the parties and you decide on what the party has said. The court must make its own inquiry. You don't even have to believe what the petitioner's lawyers say or the respondent's lawyer. You find out the evidence. I was convinced by the evidence which the late Justice Mlenga pointed out to me. It had nothing to do with the submissions of the lawyers of Chiza Besigye or of the Electoral Commission or Museveni. So, when you have finished your inquiry, you inquire into the petition. You don't try. You don't try but you inquire. When they say inquire means that you take initiative.
find more
The
truth.
court should initiative to find relevant evidence, even if that evidence has been hidden. Where the lawyers are making a mistake, and I had even the contribution of the Attorney General, is to regard the petition as if it is an ordinary party dispute between the petitioner and the respondent. It is not. It is a quasi-inquiry by the court. They are only assisted by the parties and their lawyers. So what do I mean by that? When Chief Justice Doro Owine became Chief Justice, I wrote to him a personal letter. And I hope he kept it or he read it, congratulating him. I had heard some misgiving about him, but I confessed I was wrong. He knows it. And he's a good judge. In the 2016 election, I gave a fictitious judgment after reading their reasons for their judgments. Justice Odoro, in 2016, was concerned that our constitution of 1995 was still very new, and yet we found reason to amend it. In other words, he was against amending a new constitution. I based my judgment, which was published. I didn't participate, but I wrote a fictitious judgment based on the finding of the Court of Appeal of which Justice Doro was presiding, and I agreed with Justice Kakulu that the election of 2016 was not free or fair, and Kakulu, rather those who
presided over the
yes,
what?
four judges, or five was it, four, who objected were correct. I wrote that judgment, you find it, ask the monitor to give you my view. Then I said, I agree with Justice Doro and the Justice Kakulu of the Court of Appeal that the election was not free or fair. Now, he is complaining today. Why was the court taken to Mbale? To avoid reporters like you going there. It is very far.
Costly and yeah.
Hotels are few and expensive. So they wanted to be alone. He has complained about that. He's complained to the president about not facilitating the court. And I agree with him. But that was the age limit petition. He is among those who said the law was okay to remove age limit from the Constitution. Then he became Chief Justice. He was confirmed and was sworn in. After that, he said, Ugandans made a mistake to remove term limits. Is that a consistency? Because the idea of term limit and age limit is the same, to limit the presidency. So having said that, I am very, very unhappy with Kyagulanyi's lawyers to annoy the court. One thing I used to teach when I was a professor of law is, in a case which is going on, please never annoy or upset the judge. No matter what, whether you disagree with what he's proposing or doing, he is the court. Now, the lawyers of Kyagulanyi have done the worst.
Annoy judges.
They have annoyed the judges, they have annoyed the Chief Justice. Judges are human beings, my friend. If I was, had they asked me to be their lead counsel, by the way, I'm still a lawyer. My license expired, and I called the law council that could they exempt me for a few years. While you can see my legs are okay, but they don't, tezitambula bulungi amagulu gange kyenva mbeera mu wheelchair. That can they forgive me, rather exempt me until I am better, and they can go to court. I have been there in a wheelchair, but they refuse to answer. All my letters I have written to the Law Society, all my letters I have written to the council on these matters and others have never been answered. Somewhere someone said, Kanyeihamba, as far as we are concerned legally, is a dead person. Don't communicate with him from the grave. This is really sad. But what I am saying, the second one is what
I wanted to first
the Electoral Commission said. Chairman, he said, I have sacked, is it 80 something or whatever? Because they did wrong. Deliberately, they violated the Constitution, the electoral law, and our laws. So tell me, you are a judge of the Supreme Court. How do you ignore what the President said himself and the Electoral Commission and dismiss a petition which is challenging an election that it was not free or fair? How? On what grounds other than those two witnesses, the President
and the election
and the chairman of the commission, who said these elections are futile because people broke the law, they are thieves, they are criminals. How can you ask a criminal whom you know is a criminal and is a thief to preside over the safety of your house? Do you need any other evidence? Do you need to quote Americans? Do you need to quote cases from other courts?
Most likely no. Our viewers, we are with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. My name is Norman Tumhimbise. We are here on the Might Drive. This time it's, I think, the Might is sitting because we are sitting, we're not driving. We have I don't know whether I would pronounce his name rightly. He's Pek Mu. Greetings to Professor. I am in Finland. He's Pek Mu. In Finland. I have I do not know whether definitely this might not be answered, but let me just read it to Prof. Kisomose Muzafaru. Can Justice Kanyeihamba give his opinion on the allegation against the current 3 justices on the panel? Number 1 being Owinyidolo, Peter Chibita, and the 3rd one accused of being relatives to Mr. L. Tumwine. I do not know how connected this are to General Tumwine. Justice Kanyeihamba, can you please give us your findings, not judgment? Thank you, Prof. I want to ask you this. You said Justice now, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Uganda, Owinyidolo, in reference to his previous statements.
Yes.
Do you think, as a result of his opinion in the previous petition about the age limit amendment bill that time, do you think his appointment as Chief Justice, was more or less a reward in your view?
No. You see, you people, you forget. We appoint people, or we recommend them for what they are. When they got in the office, they are bound to change, or they change. That is not our business. Nor is it our fault. I think that Justice Odoro was properly and qualifies. For me, I think people who have also played a bit of politics, I think he was a member of parliament or something like that. That is an added qualification rather than a disqualification. Justice Mulenga and I, not only had we been politicians, partisan, I was a movement and he was a DP, but he had been vice president of DP. I played quite a big role in the NRM, but we are also held to have been very, very good judges of the Supreme Court. And we are often quoted or cited elsewhere in the Commonwealth. So that does not stop you being a judge. The point that happens, and this is very crucial, once you are appointed a judge, the very minute you are made a judge, you change character. You must change character. So anyone else who was a partisan, who may have done wrong things, although I don't have any evidence he did, once you are Chief Justice, then, my friend, that very day, that very hour, you are a different character from what you were before. Munini Mulira, I quote him in my book. I was a guest DP as a movement. I have never supported the DP. But when it came to judge the referendum case, which Museveni wanted to win very badly, and I and his Chief Justice, then Odochi, even Wambuzi was sympathetic, we are sympathetic to him. Then I differed, and in this case we were a majority, and we said the referendum was not correct. Munini wrote in his column of Monitor that the idea that George Kanyeihamba, a pillar of the movement and a supporter of Museveni, should, in his new role as a judge, find for Semogerere, his mortal enemy in politics, is too good to be true. I have never forgotten that compliment.
Okay, good morning once again. We are with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba, and want to thank Council Odul Anthony. He's watching from TCDC Arusha. We have so many people here. Gentlemen and ladies out there, please call our studio line 0789017145 to discuss with Professor Kanyeihamba. You could have any questions, please call. We shall pick and talk to him. I have a question for you, Professor. You are very few of your, of your species when it comes to courage. Do you think, in your view, with the panel that we have now that are presiding over this petition, are they courageous enough that they can cancel in the event that they are convinced that the petition is worth hearing and also giving that that ruling or that decision to that regard? Do you think they are that courageous, like we saw the panel in Kenya with their previous petition? Do you think they have that courage?
People thought of that in the 2016 election. I am also on record as having said that a judge, you are a judge of Uganda. Once the president has recommended, by the way, the president has no part in your makeup. You were taught by people like the Kanyeihambas who were professors at university, other eminent professors, even greater than Kanyeihamba. That is where your knowledge comes from. Then you practice, or you were at a university as a university don. Then you were selected by the Electoral Commission, which is supposed to be independent of President Museveni and the NRM, which is supposed to be a pillar of integrity in the country, composed of eminent men and women who have served this country in some legal capacity, led, I believe today, by a former judge of the judiciary. These are honorable men and women. Then they recommend to the president, we want Odoro. We have studied his character. His CV, we want him to be the Chief Justice of Uganda. I don't know whether we have a Deputy Chief Justice, because the evidence is that the Judicial Service Commission of Uganda has never recommended my good friend, what is the Deputy Chief Justice? Designate. He used to be DPP.
Chibita was...
No, he's a new one. Justice Wu. But only the president recognized him and the government. The JC said, we don't know that man. We never recommended him. The president has no powers, constitutional or otherwise, to nominate and appoint a judge. That's the one thing you should learn. He only appoints, which is a constitutional duty. If the Judicial Service Commission says, we want Kanyeihamba, we have recommended Kanyeihamba to be the Chief Justice, whether he likes me or not, he must appoint me Chief Justice. He has no role in vetting and approving the Chief Justice. That's why we have reached now. No one who has not been recommended by Museveni or the NRM can become a judge in Uganda, and the Ugandans are keeping quiet. I have written about this many times. But those who are asking questions, very eminent Ugandans, non-Ugandans, why haven't you ever challenged Museveni? So these days, the Judicial Service Commission has absconded from its duty. It has abandoned the duty and sent all its powers to the president. You nominate, you appoint, you sack.
I want to take you back to the question, Prof. Does that mean in your view that the president's act of appointing and either way approving the justices on that panel, where does it leave the panel? Does it take away their courage to make a correct and right decision?
Of course not. That's what I was going to say. You're taking the words out of my mouth. The fact that you have been appointed by somebody who is corrupt or who is corruptible to become a judge does not in any way or form affect your responsibility as a judge to the nation and to litigants. It should never in any way whatsoever affect your courage, your integrity, and your professionalism. You must, as you must be a judge. And I'm always reminded, those people in the Bible, including Iscariot, Judas, who judged Jesus, appointed, having considered their candidature very carefully, and they betrayed him. You can't guarantee against betraying. Secondly, thirdly, this is really very sad. Why I think that Doro Winnie is different from the others. I have known him. He's a man of integrity. I believe that it was an aberration in 2016 for him in the Court of Appeal to concede that the removal of age limit law was validly made. Because if you see that it at variance with what he had observed, that the Constitution is very young, why do you want to, the ink is not dry, why do you want to amend it? So his final decision is not in conformity with his reasoning and his integrity. And that is now confirmed by his subsequent statement as Chief Justice that the Ugandans, we made a mistake in removing term limits. If you accept the integrity and the sanctity of term limits, you must, by way of logic, accept age limit.
Okay, we are with Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. We have a few minutes to sign out. I have to inform the general public that in the event that you are a human rights defender out there and you are suffering consequences of your human rights work, do not hesitate to reach to the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders. They are simply here in Kampala, Ntinda, Semawata Road. In case of any assistance that you would want, it could be medical, it could be legal, or any other support that they may deem relevant, or don't shy away from reaching out to them. We have to take this person and hear from them. Hello, this is the Mighty Drive. You could say hello and also send in your question.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the service that you're rendering to us this morning.
Please.
Good morning, Prof. I wanted to ask
your name, please.
like an inquiry on the role of judges and the courts of law in terms of bad laws that are passed by Parliament. I know that Parliament does pass the laws and has also like a or should I call it a mandate, or they have a role to look at the constitution and change laws and, pass them, and the president assents to them. I'm just inquiring on whether the courts of law have a role in, for example, being able to kind of advise on such laws that are being passed, or the changes that are made in the constitution, or do they actually just sit back and wait for parliament to give them laws which they can actually use in their work? Is there a way in which the courts of law can come up and probably, give advisory roles, or like put a stop to some of the things that are happening in terms of the constitutional changes that Parliament is making, especially when I hear you, Professor, talking about the judges like Kakuru and Owini, talking about the changes that were made in terms of term limits and age limits not being good, and him giving comments like the constitution is still new. And so what do all these comments and comments that the judges are talking about the constitution and its current amendments, how do they help in the process of making it a more living and relevant document? Because for some of us who are trying to kind of make a sense of it at our age, and of course listening to your experience, are failing to find a way to kind of see how livable and how relevant the constitution remains to the people of Uganda. Thank you so much, and my name is Kovia.
Ms. Kofi, thank you very much for that question. I used to be a teacher of law, and if it had come in my classroom, presumably I would take a whole day answering your questions, because it is very fundamental.
Which unfortunately we don't have. I'll ask you to spend like a minute.
Judges deny that they make law, but every time they make a decision, that decision becomes a law. What do I mean by that? In America and in the United Kingdom, where we inherit much of our experience and rules, even there they deny they make law. But actually, ordinary people, including people like me, who any intelligent person knows that when the British Parliament made the law, before the cars were invented, it was meant for transport for horses and the pedestrians. But when motor cars were invented and aeroplanes, the same law which was intended to govern horses governs the cars and the aeroplanes. Now, that is the judges themselves who have proposed that the law intended for governing the travel by horse should also govern aeroplanes and the cars. They are making a new law, because they are making it that this law, which was made before the car was invented, should also apply to cars. Parliament didn't know there was such things as cars or aeroplanes. So to that extent, judges make law. Every time judges interpret the law, it is the interpretation which matters, rather than the words used by Parliament, which become the law. I hope you are understanding my sister. That if, for example, you are wearing a see-through dress, and you sound a very beautiful woman the way you answer your question, and as far as the law is concerned, they say you are properly dressed, but Kanyeihamba comes along, your husband comes along, that you are wearing a see-through, you are not properly dressed, it is the words used by the judges and not by your husband or Kanyeihamba which matter. In that sense, judges make the law.
Good. Judges make the law, no doubt. I have a compliment here from Horace Muhabuzi. Prof is such a rare judge with professional ethics, with independent mind. Thank you for choosing to be a special person to Uganda. There's so many comments that we might not continue following, rather reading to the public. I have strictly two last concerns, Prof. And this is in regards to three petitions. The petition of 2001, the petition of 2006, and the petition of 2016, but also a petition of 2021. What do you find different from all these petitions? Or what do you find that is, what do you find that is different from all these four petitions? Or any similarities for all the four?
They are all similar because in all of them, except the current one, 2021, judges commented on them, all of them. And then each of the previous ones, the Supreme Court found that the elections were not properly conducted in accordance with the Constitution, that there were anomalies which made the elections not free or fair, and that the government, and particularly the security forces, the police and the army, interfered unnecessarily in the conduct of those elections. In each of them, 2001, 2006, 2016, the judges unanimously, including the respective Chief Justice, made recommendations to improve elections in Uganda. Many resolutions were made by the court. I was one of them, of the judges. We said, you must do this. You must do this. One of the major tasks that is given to government by the Constitution is that they should translate our Constitution in our local languages. So everyone who doesn't necessarily speak or understand the English can understand. They have never done that. They have never implemented any of the recommendations made in each petition.
Okay, I want to cut
so
you short.
You can't blame the court that they haven't done their duty.
It remains a political question, and most likely our next discussion, as we return here, we shall have to discuss the political question because it's it always comes back. As a student of law as well, we have read about the ex parte Matopo's case, which is every now and again they will always talk about a political question. Prof, we have 2 minutes to leave this platform. May I ask you to ask viewers and your followers, and also
to do what? To
ask and invite them for your book launch, because it's as far as I and you know, it's 26th March where Pierre Olumumba is coming. Please, in a minute, invite you.
Well, in a minute, very quickly.
Yeah.
Actually, there are 2 books which are being launched. Our guest of honor, chief speaker, is none other than Professor Lumumba from Kenya, but he's really an international jurist of repute in Africa. And on the recommendation of the head of government, we are inviting the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Justice Olanya, to be chief guest. I'm sure he'll make words on the launching of that book. There are 2 of them. One has been compiled by friends of mine, and it is called Kanyeihamba the Incredible. I hope some of you agree that the title is fit when you have heard from him. And the other one is a very academic but legal book, which I think that many law schools, not only in Uganda but in the rest of the world, will recommend. It is called Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government. It's not confined to Uganda. It has been expanded. The foreword recommending it has been written by none other by the Uganda judge of the Court of Appeal and the Constitutional Court, Justice Engonda Ntende. So professors from Makerere and from Christian University Mukono have put in an input. They have read it and advised me how to improve it. I acknowledge their input, and I am saying that everybody, particularly those connected with legal education, but also political education, because constitutional law, public law and the government impinge on many subjects such as political science, social science, and so on and so forth, can get a copy of it. Digital Talk have kindly agreed to co-host the function, and they are advertising the
Event.
Yes, the event. Their view is that this is such an important book, and those who are attending should avail themselves of a copy. I think for purposes of selling the ticket and the copy of the book, the organizers are selling it at 200 per copy. But if you are buying it for your student who is at a university, or you are buying it for the library of the university and others, it is costing 100,000 shillings per copy, and many people think it is very cheap, but for the value it gives.
Yeah.
And we shall invite who is who.
Strictly
I have
200
consulted
people.
the government, and because of Corona, the audience will be limited
Only
to only
200.
those invited who should not exceed 200.
Yeah.
And I hope you can even apply to Digital Talk to see whether you could be one of them. There will be books available at the venue, which is the Uganda Group, Uganda Golf Club, which is Acacia Avenue, just
After the traffic lights.
yeah, opposite Rule Road, just near there.
Okay, our viewers, we cannot. I just have to ask my producer to allow me read these comments just in a minute. We have there Lukoma, my professor, incredible one. Justice Kanyeihamba is the best. That's Maka Rajab. Renito Scovia says, thank you so much. This makes so much sense. I think your response in regards to law on whether or otherwise justices make laws. Question, I think this is a long one. Can private member be successful in changing the article which allows legislators to decide their own remuneration? And what steps can one take? I think we shall not answer that for now because we are running out of time. We shall spare these questions for the next show. There are so many comments. We cannot exceed.
But
for even a minute.
let me, I opposed that Parliament should be given authority to determine their own salary. Currently, they are the highest paid people, and we have created the biggest parliament in the world per capita. It is wrong.
A last one, Prof. Recently, Parliament passed the retirement package for people like you. Have you received yours? Retired, the packages for retired justices.
After a long time, I received part of it. I have not received all of it.
Okay, viewers, we cannot. We shall have to meet you tomorrow with Omulangira Nachibinge at the same time, same platform, Alternative Digitalk, but now streaming live on Alternative Uganda social media page. Our studio line will forever be 0789017145. Alternative Digitalk, real issues, real talk, real issues. Norman Tumhimse has been your host today. We had visited Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. On 26th March, we shall be launching his 2 books at Golf Club, where the guest speaker is none other than Professor Piero Olumumba of Kenya. A panel that includes Right Honorable Amambabazi, Norbert Mao, Bernard Mona from Ghana, Dr. Matembe, Dr. Zedriga, Councillor Nicholas Opio. I can assure you it's going to be one of those biggest events of all times. He will still be 81. Please, we need only 200 people. Call the numbers that run in our advert. May God bless one, bless all. See you tomorrow.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Golf Club. The ticket comes with a book. All this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digitalk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the forementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Golf Club. The ticket comes with a book. All this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digitalk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyeihamba. Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you have,
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.